Before we begin this super fun episode, we want to introduce you to an awesome new podcast from one of our past guests, the multiracial superstar, Sharon Mariguez. Peace, Planks, and Prana is dedicated to the yoga experience for students, teachers, and anyone curious about connecting body, breath, and mind. Hosts Melissa Payne Bradley and Sharon Naris Mariguez explore yoga's physical, energetic, and cultural aspects. Peace represents unity and community, Planks represents the physical practice, and Prana represents the life force connecting us all. Topics include navigating our relationship with our bodies, finding your voice as a teacher, and maintaining a gratitude practice, and so many more awesome topics. Find Peace, Planks, and Prana on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Go check it out today and subscribe. Happy New Year and welcome to 2025. This is the first episode of Season 2 of the Multiracialverse Podcast. I am your host, Antonio Fernandez. As the world keeps spinning and evolving, we're grounding ourselves with one constant, our North Star for world peace. Today, we're diving into the second segment of our special Peace episode featuring some of our incredible past guests who share heartfelt ideas to help us find inner peace and radiate it outward into the world. Whether it's empathy, the universal language of music or love, or yes, even tacos. These guests remind us that peace isn't just a lofty dream, it's a tangible goal rooted in our everyday actions and intentions. From meaningful conversations to small, joyful moments, they prove that world peace is possible if we each take a step toward it. So let's kick off Season 2 with inspiration, reflection, and hope as we journey into 2025 with this empowering episode. Thank you for being here, and let's make this year a step closer to peace, sending our love to all the individuals affected by the Southern California fires. Please find ways to help if you can.
Oh, gosh. That's a toughie. I would say a woman at the helm. I would say absolutely a woman at the helm of anything.
Yes.
You know, I think that we are level-headed people. And, I think it's tough because we live in a world where there's so much hatred and there's so much consumerism and capitalism that runs everything. And I'd love to say, we could all live in a great world if we all give back, but that's just not the case, right? The case is that people are going to push other people out so that they can eat. And I would just say, for me, world peace is just doing everything with grace. Man, I saw a quote the other day. It was a TikTok video, and it was somebody saying, give everybody grace because it's everybody's first time living, and it's their first time feeling. And that really hit me. That. It really hit me because I could say, there have been so many times in my upbringing where I'm God, my mom did that wrong, or God, this person did this wrong. And then I looked at it and I said, that's true. This is her first time existing. This is her first time on this earth. This is my first time on this earth. This is my first time experiencing this exact moment in time. And if I don't give myself grace, and if I don't give other people grace, then it's too easy to fall into a world of constantly criticizing someone else's behavior. So I would say if people could do everything with grace and acknowledge that it's everyone's first time doing anything, first time feeling, first time experiencing, that I think we could definitely do it better.
I would say world peace is not easy. But you know what? I think the start is looking within. I've worked so much on myself, not just with my education, but with my spirituality, with changing myself first before I can change the world. Finding that inner peace, being happy, it starts there. If you don't have peace within, you can't spread peace. And I think that's one thing that I've really honed into being happy and being peaceful myself and being enough for myself so that I can spread that joy and that love and that education other places. But it's not simple, loving yourself unconditionally is not simple. It's something that my own family struggles with, right? My ex-partners have struggled with. But now that I can truly say that I love myself unconditionally, that I am, unapologetically myself, I can spread peace and that I can motivate for world peace.
Great question. Not that I'm here to solve, world peace by any means, but I do actually feel it might be a little cliche and potentially, especially in this space, but I actually really feel that we need a multicultural world to achieve world peace. And I say that because while there are people like me, there's people like you, there's lots of people of who are multiracial, multi-ethnic. We're not always together in the same spaces or in change-making spaces or decision-making spaces. And I think we do need that variety of perspective. All of the different aspects of who we are coming together. It is really hard when that's not the case. For example, a lot of the schools in Los Angeles are predominantly Hispanic Latino, which is fine. Nothing inherently wrong with that. But I will often find that in all white communities, they'll say, oh, those diverse schools in LA. And I'm like, not diverse. They just have people of color. So it's like, it's being really intentional about how we define what multiculturalism looks like and what it actually means to have lots of different people in one space together. There's nothing inherently bad about having, groups where we find ourselves and find our own community. That has a role and it's important. But I think we benefit so much from being in spaces where we are very open to learning from other people and changing our process, changing our thoughts, changing our beliefs because we've learned something from somebody else. And I think that especially benefits those who fit into the dominant culture and who never have to think about those things and never have to question their processes. So I think it's really important. And I think that would be my recipe for world peace, to really create spaces where we are all together and are all engaging and learning from each other from a very early age, and that becomes our norm.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up with the question I ask everyone is, what's your recipe for world peace?
Oh, you had to hit me with something deep. Oh, man. All right. My recipe for world peace. It's challenging, man. It's challenging because I know human nature. I know we have people that try to put peace. We had Jesus and Gandhi. I'd say the best way to establish peace is for people to actually communicate with each other and show how we're very similar. I think we have to understand that we're not black, white, or a flag or a nation, but we're actually human. Before I'm even a man or a woman, I'm a human. And that we have those emotions, we have this, and we're trying to navigate this world. Once we kind of understand that we're just human, then we kind of understand that a lot of this stuff is very universal. Happiness, joy. So from there, once we kind of have that, it's like being open. Hey, man, so, I know you believe this. I know this person believes that. But if I was dying, would you save me? Of course. Cool. We have a level of empathy. And we have to build through that kind of way, those ways. Human empathy, compassion, kindness. Not everyone's going to get it.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a never-ending war. But I'd say that you have to really just be kind. Be a very kind, understanding, and patient person, like as an individual. And you'd be surprised how that's contagious to other people. They might be a little rough, but the more you're around them, the more you influence. So start with being the individual. You're a human. Be kind to the next person. Be empathetic. Understand that they have families too. And the reason they're probably acting this way has nothing to do with you. It has something to do with something going on in their life. How do you act when you're stressed? Well, that's how they act when they're stressed. Once you kind of get that perspective, you're a little more patient. You get pissed off.
So my recipe for world peace. Okay, I'm going to be a little bit cheesy about it, but I really believe in the power of storytelling and the power of the connection that comes from storytelling. So I would say that my recipe for world peace is to tell your story.
Such big questions, like so philosophical. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was trying to think about like what would be a good answer, and like not like a kitschy, like cliche or cliche answer. I'm going to go back to the comment that I made about humility and authenticity. And I think that's not necessarily the recipe, but it's a part of the recipe.
Yeah.
That, we live in a world where it's so easy to make assumptions, and it's so easy to get into our head about how certain people are and how certain people interact and how things should be, that I think many of us need to just take a pause and kind of reflect on, but why do I think that? And where is that coming from? And be a little bit more vulnerable and not be afraid to show emotion, not be afraid to, again, have those difficult conversations. And understand that that's a part of the process, that, it's the speed bump that we all have to go over. And I think a lot of people try to get around it, right? Like, how can I figure out, and especially something so big like world peace, like, how can I be conflict adverse? And sometimes you kind of have to go into the conflict, right? And I mean, I say this as somebody who is kind of conflict averse, but sometimes you just have to, kind of go through. And I think, again, if we as a people were more willing to do that, and especially do it together, it would feel so much more, again, authentic and better, because it's like, I know that if I'm going to put myself out there and you're going to put yourself out there, if we both fall, we're going to catch each other, instead of feeling like I'm going to put myself out there, you're not. And then if I fall, I fall. Right. So just having more of that humility and authenticity and vulnerability, I think would go such a long way. It's hard, and it's like the hardest thing to do as people.
If we love ourselves first, then we'll be able to love everyone else all around us.
Tacos. That's my recipe.
That's a good one. I like that.
You know what, though? Food brings people together. Food is community. And you can make a taco. Of course, you can make a kind of traditional Mexican street taco. You can make an Asian taco. You can make a Turkish taco. You can make a Cajun taco. You can literally make a taco that reflects any and every single person in this world. And it's delicious. And it's the one thing that I think can truly bring differing people together. And of course you could have a bad food experience, like maybe the chicken's overdone or something like that. But that probably wasn't what you were looking for in terms of recipe to save the world.
That's what.
I don't really know exactly what it is, but what I'm hoping to do with this podcast is, I've been so blessed, and this show is not about me at all. I don't want to be the face of the show. The face of the show truly is all the incredible people who I bring on the show. But I've been so blessed to have feedback. People come to me and say, "Hey, I just listened to this episode, and it really impacted me and made me think about my own journey as a father and accepting my spouse and my son for and how they manage their ADHD." Or, listening to this episode really made me think about how I was bullied as a kid, and that, I wasn't alone being adopted and being, ethnically diverse growing up in a majority white state. And, even getting comments mid-interview and people stopping and say, Tisha, this conversation has been so therapeutic for me. It's just, I think, I selfishly really enjoy hearing other people's stories, and I really never imagined that I would get those types of responses, because to me, I'm just asking people about their life. I kind of indirectly assume that maybe people who are coming on have already kind of digested their life experiences and have really kind of gone through that journey. But it's just interesting to see how people do kind of reflect mid-interview and say, wow, like, this has really made me think about my experiences in a different way. Or again, it was such a great experience just being able to talk to you and talk through my journey. Again, that kind of like that therapeutic remedy So that's just been really pleasurable. And so I think just talking, again, get a bunch of tacos and just sit around the table and talk about everything, no matter how. Actually, if it's hard to talk about, if it makes you uncomfortable, more of a reason to talk about it.
Just people being who they are. Like if people were allowed to be authentic, I think people would have peace within themselves and wouldn't feel the need to try to dominate or control or manipulate other people.
This episode of the Multiracialverse Podcast is brought to you by Eviton Couture, a brand born from a powerful vision and a deep connection to heritage. Founded by Shinnecock brothers Jason Tech King and Wayon Moon Smith, Eviton represents resilience and pride. From handmade tie-dye to wellness-focused athletic wear, each piece is crafted with intention and positivity, smudged with sage for good vibes, and delivered to you with love. Join the Eviton family on their journey of empowerment and inspiration. Hit up Moon on Instagram at Eviton_KS. That is native spelled backwards _KS to view product and place an order. Eviton Couture. Feel the spirit of resilience in every stitch. You can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Huge shout out to my friend Johannes Skoda for mixing and creating the intro music, and DJ Kazam for the track.